Hi friends, and welcome back for another Trinity Stamps video. This is Cassie. Today we're going to be making a light up card, and it's a mini slimline. But let's talk about the products we're using. This is the Holiday Tweets little gnome stamp set. Isn't he adorable, standing on his little stool like a Christmas tree? Then we have the Easy Lights. Now these are in the Trinity Stamps store and they're awesome. I'll show you just how easy they are. We also have the mini slimline card and envelope die. So I'm going to take this piece from that mini envelope or mini slimline card and envelope die, and I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine, and then I'll have this really cool little panel all ready to go. I'm going to stamp my gnome right onto that panel because we don't want this to be too bulky because it's already going to have a little bit of bulk because of the lights. So I've put this into my MISTI and I'm going to ink this up with some Ink on 3 Blackout ink. And there's Miles to say hello. I'm going to stamp it a couple times. So there's the first impression. We'll get Miles because otherwise he'll just stand there. And then we will ink it up one more time just to make sure that I have a good crisp image. And then when I'm happy with how it's stamped, we'll pull that out. And then we're going to put some masking paper in there. So it looks really light on camera, but it was dark enough that I could see and I can cut out my mask right on the lines. So we're going to mask because I want to do a little bit of ink blending. So I'll cut that out, and here's my mask all ready to go. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. So I'll peel off the release paper from the mask, and then I'm going to stick this right over the top of our little gnome. And then I'm also going to grab out like some Post-it tape, and I'll have all this linked down below in the description box. So I'll pull that out, and then I'm going to mask off a ground. And then also where the scallops are and the stitching is, I'm going to mask that off too. I want that to be nice and stark white. So just going to mask all those edges. Try and get that nice and straight. And then the next step will be to grab out my inks and my blender buddies. I'm going to use the Trinity Teal for my blue along with my blender buddy, and I just love this color. It's so pretty. But I want to start on the paper first, or you know, the masking paper or the Post-it tape or whatever you want to call it first, just to make sure that I'm not getting like big splotches of the blue, and then I'll drag that onto the paper. I want this to be more like a halo, and there'll be some more white around my image itself because he's kind of lit up anyway, so it's darker on the edges. Now we'll pull back and see some of that reveal. You'll see that we have a nice ground set up, and then I'll just take that same Post-it tape and go over the top of where I already went. And then we're going to, get some more mask so that I can keep that white scalloped border. And I've brought in some Twiggy brown. All these by Ink on 3 along with another blending buddy. I have one for every color. And now here's Max to say hello. He's critiquing my blending, probably telling me that I'm not doing that great of a job. I'm trying to make it look like a ground, and I want it to be a little darker underneath the gnome, but I am going to end up bringing in some Copics for that. So I'll just keep blending until I am happy with the blend. And then my favorite part is pulling everything away so you get the big reveal. And I decided to mask first instead of color just in case I screwed it up. All right, so we'll pull those masks away. And it looks cool. It looks like it's already matted onto some white cardstock, which I love that. So that's really neat. And then we'll pull away the mask of our gnome. And I'm actually going to keep that with the stamp set in case I ever want to do some masking with him again. So there he is. It worked out really nicely. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and do our Copic coloring. I have this on 4 times the speed, and I'll try and remember and tell you what the colors are. So I started with some R29 for his hat. This is going to be the red. I'm going to make him look like a Santa. You could obviously do whatever color you wanted, but I figured since this is Christmas, or it's going to be a Christmas card, we'd go ahead and make him look like a Santa. And then just bring in some red around the areas that I thought it would work. And then we're also going to put some on the bows from each of those bells. And then I'm going to bring in some R39. Now this R39 wasn't quite dark enough. It wasn't as dramatic as I was hoping, so I put that away and I pull out my R89, and that's quite a bit more dramatic, which that's what I was going for. So we're going to use that color for our reds. Then I'm going to bring in the C tones. So you could, these are the cool tones. You could bring in some warm tones if you wanted, but this is my cool gray, C1 for his beard, and just the little frill around his gloves and things. And then I'll bring in some E00 and E11 for his face. My gold color will be Y28. I'm going to use that on all the bells, and I end up using it on all the stars. But for his gloves, we're going to start with some C6 and his boots as well, and come in with some C8 for my darker tone. And we will blend that out just a little bit. And then we're going to bring in some G19 for the little baubles, and also for the lights on his hat. I wanted to bring in just a little bit more green. Originally I was going to leave those white, but I decided to make them green lights. And then for a little bit darker, we're going to bring in some G28 just to bring a pop of darkness on those baubles. And then this is where I decide I need to bring in that Y28 one more time for the rest of the stars that are on his beard. I'll bring in some E33 for the stool he's standing on, and then some E99 for my darker tone. And then also just put that underneath him so it looks like there's some shadowing. And I do want to bring in another color for the gold, so I decided to actually bring in a gold gel pen. So I'm using my gold gel pen, just adding some darker areas, and it'll add a little shine as well. And then I'm going to add a little, like some little spots around the lights like they're twinkling. And I decided I did need to bring in some blue under the chair. It was just too stark white. It was standing out to me, so I brought in some BG57. So now we're ready. We're going to poke our holes for our lights, and I have 3 lights on my strand, so these easy lights have 3 lights each. So I'm just going to poke 3 holes into the jingle bells. I thought those would be perfect to light up. And my card base, because this is a mini slimline, is 6 inches by 6 inches, scored at 3 inches, so easy enough. I'll bring in my Teflon folder and close it up, and you'll see just a little bit of red around when I put that panel on top of the base. I need to stamp my sentiment, so I'm going to stamp that using that same Blackout ink. I'll stamp it a couple times, and this is just the scraps that I had left over from the white cardstock from earlier. And then I'll pull that out. As you can see, I have a banner stamp or die, and that one again came from the mini slimline card and envelope die. And then I wanted a star that would match, so I brought in the Y28 again and just colored some of that on there. And that star comes from the mini slimline card and envelope die. A lot of great little dies on that. It's a great little set. So I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine so that I have those pieces ready to go. And then once that's all good to go, we're actually going to start working on the lights part, which is super fun. And again, super easy. I'll bring in my gel pen one more time. My bottom keeps coming off of that. It's been dropped a few times. But this is how the lights come in their package. These are the easy lights, and they are exactly what they say. They are easy, if you've never seen me do these before. So you'll just break those apart. This is a pack of 5. Trinity Stamps has a pack of 5 and a pack of 2 in the store. And then you'll pull out your battery, and this is just how simple it is to do this. You're going to take your battery. You're going to line up, after you've put everything away so you don't misplace it, you're going to line up your positive, your plus sign on your battery with the plus sign on the mechanism. And when you've got that lined up, you'll just stick it in place. Just slide it right in there and test it out. And look, it lights. That's how simple it is. So, so easy. And it gets even easier. So now the hardest part is probably just finding where exactly you want your mechanism to go, your button. So I'm going to put some double-sided tape on the back of that because I want to make sure it doesn't move around. And once I've decided where it'll be easy for the recipient to push, and if they want to take the battery out and replace it, they can, because I want that close to the side. I'm just going to peel off the release paper on that double-sided tape, and then I'll just stick down my mechanism. And I'm always checking it along the way to make sure that I didn't screw anything up with the lights. And then with each of the lights, I'm going to take a little bit more of that double-sided tape and just going to tape the light right down. I'm going to put that tape right next to the light so that it doesn't move around. You could use clear Scotch tape. That would work great. And then you could just put it all over the back of it. But for each of those lights, I'm going to do the same process. I'll just take a tiny piece of that score tape, make sure that my light is facing forward and popped through the hole, and then stick that tape down next to the light. And then I'll do that with that final one as well. And then of course I'll check it to make sure everything still lights up, and it does. And then this part, it's going to look like a hot mess express here. We're just going to take some washi tape and I'm going to wind that leftover tape up and I'm just going to stick it down. Like, I don't care. It doesn't have to look pretty back there. No one's going to see it. And it doesn't affect the mechanism, see? So I just taped it all down. Your next step would be to use some double-sided foam tape, and you want that to be about 3 millimeters deep. So with like your normal Scotch tape, you definitely have to double it up, but I have some that is 3 millimeters deep, so that's what I'm using. I'll peel off all of the release paper, and I notice I was very generous with the amount of foam tape back there. And then I'm just going to pop that onto my base. And of course, check it to make sure it still works and everything works great. And then now we can glue down our star for our button. If you have a stamp that says push, or if you want to write push on there, you could do that too. I'm just going to put that star down there. And then I'll glue down my season's greetings. And then I do decide that I want to grab, or I want to draw in some little arrows that would point to the star. Just make it a little bit more obvious. Like I said, you could write push or something if you wanted. And then I'll put a few little gold dots all around our little Santa. And that's going to finish off the card. The card is so easy. And next, I just had to make an envelope to go with it. And Trinity Stamps has the awesome mini slimline card and envelope die. So I cut out one of the big pieces and then 2 of the flaps. And then I went ahead and scored everything. So everything, the score lines come through. And so I just folded those over on their score lines. And now I'm just gluing on the side flaps. I'm using some Nouveau Deluxe glue. You need a strong adhesive. I don't suggest like a double-sided tape. Those usually fall apart. So I definitely suggest a strong liquid glue. And then I'll stick my other flap on. And then, just press down, make sure that's good and on there. And everything lines up. And the paper that I used was actually the it's the Copper Feathers Specialty Paper by Tonic. So I love using their specialty paper. It's just so pretty. And yeah, there it is. So all those are all glued together. And our little mini slimline fits in there perfectly, just like so. That finishes off our card and our envelope. I love how this turned out, and I love how easy it was. So if you liked this video, please do me a favor and hit that like button, and think about subscribing if you have not already done so. Thanks for all the love that you guys leave, and thanks for stopping by, and I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.